players and those types of post players who get to the line a lot and know how to garner a foul, when you hold them to 12 points, that is saying something.
Indiana Fever are sipping the sweet nectar of the Commissioner's Cup. Now, I've been saying that the Fever are formidable.
Prediction was that the Lynx were going to win, which, I mean, come on, you guys, did most of us think the Fever would win this?
Caitlin Clark has heard it all this season. Every insult, every doubt, every headline that tried to pin the Indiana Fever's struggles on her shoulders. But on the night of the Commissioner's Cup clash against the Minnesota Lynx, she didn't just silence the critics. She gave them something they couldn't ignore, a statement win that lit the entire league on fire. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video.
That's because I've seen other trends that point in the right direction. Obviously, Aaliyah Boston is a star. Kelsey Mitchell continues to thrive.
100% sure thing. That's why the word upsets exists. I mean, there are upsets in sports consistently.
The Fever didn't just beat the Lynx, they shocked them. They dismantled a playoff caliber team with poise, execution, and a level of grit that had been missing all season. And at the center of it all, Caitlin Clark, playing with the kind of focus and fire that reminded everyone why she's one of the most anticipated rookies in WNBA history. From the opening tip, Clark looked different, sharper, more locked in, as if the noise surrounding her had finally transformed into fuel. She played like someone with something to prove. And by the time the final buzzer sounded, she had delivered one of her most complete performances yet. Dropping dimes, draining threes, and orchestrating the Fever offense like a seasoned veteran, not a rookie under a microscope. But it wasn't just about stats. It was about presence. She led huddles. She calmed nerves. She waved off isolations to run better sets. She pushed the pace when the defense hesitated. She pulled up from deep just when Indiana needed a dagger.
Some sort of other placeholder there. I don't know. I'm sure it's since been changed since they went live and the Fever won the game.
Out of the way, I was just honestly stunned. And actually, they changed the title to say Fever stunned Lynx to win Commissioner's Cup.
They got that production from Natasha Howard that was missing to the tune of Commissioner's Cup MVP. Role players stepped up.
It was the performance of a leader, not just a scorer. And after weeks of being blamed for everything from spacing to chemistry issues, Clark finally got the stage and the teammates to show what she was really about. And then came the moment everyone's talking about. After the final whistle, with cameras swarming and reporters waiting for her reaction, Clark didn't gloat. She didn't throw shade. She didn't puff her chest and scream, "I told you so." Instead, she leaned into the mic with a small smile and said, "That's what happens when we play as a team. We know what we're capable of. And tonight, we showed it." Simple, confident, devastating. Because behind those words was a thunderclap aimed at every critic who said she was the problem. The narrative that she couldn't adjust to the pros? Gone. The idea that the Fever were doomed to underachieve? Obliterated. One win doesn't fix everything, but it sure changes the tone. Especially when that win comes in the Commissioner's Cup.
It did not look like the Fever was going to win this game. I mean, they were down by 13 at one point in the beginning of the game. Nobody could sink a bucket.
She didn't understand really why the WNBA was expanding to those cities because people don't really want to go there. Little shout back to Joakim Noah.
For context, the Lynx weren't just any opponent. They were red hot. They'd found their rhythm, dominated defensively, and had climbed to the top of the standings. Everyone expected them to handle the Fever the way so many others had. But Clark had other plans. She came out swinging, scoring from all three levels. But more importantly, she got her teammates going. Kelsey Mitchell thrived under Clark's playmaking. Nalissa Smith looked unstoppable inside. The ball movement was crisp. The cuts were timed. And the spacing, the one thing critics kept throwing at the Fever, was finally working in their favor. What changed? Maybe it was the stakes. Maybe it was the pressure finally boiling over. Or maybe it was Clark taking ownership of this team in a way she hadn't been allowed to until now. Because make no mistake, This didn't happen by accident. This was the result of a shift in energy, a shift in leadership, a rookie realizing she didn't need to be perfect. She just needed to be herself, and herself is enough.
And obviously the fact that she was questionable before this game would indicate that as well. So you're getting Clark back. You've made this upgrade.
But when it comes to people like Nafisa Collier, who averages over 24 points a game, or Asia Wilson,
who gets the MVP, was huge on both ends of the floor in this game to be awarded that distinguished honor, Commissioner's Cup.
After the game, Clark elaborated just a little more. "We've been building," she said, "every game, every practice, trying to figure out who we are. It's not always pretty, but when we play connected, when we trust each other, we can compete with anyone." Those words hit differently after a win like this, because this wasn't some end-of-season garbage time victory. This was a cup game, a statement game, a measuring stick, and Indiana measured up. They didn't get lucky. They didn't squeak by. They executed a plan, stayed disciplined, and refused to fold when the Lynx made their runs. That kind of resilience hasn't been easy to come by for the Fever this year, but something shifted on that floor, and Clark was the engine behind it. At one point in the second quarter, the Lynx went on an 8-0 run to tie the game. The crowd roared, the momentum shifted, but Clark, instead of forcing a contested three or getting rattled, calmly directed traffic, swung the ball to the corner, and got her teammate an open look that buried the noise. That poise, that timing, that's what makes great players elite. Not just the highlights, but the ability to control the flow when the pressure hits. And she did it all while under the bright lights of national scrutiny. Every single night Clark plays, she's the story, good or bad. Every off night becomes a trending topic. Every turnover gets replayed. Every missed rotation gets analyzed to death. But on this night, she shut it all down with her play.
From winning this Commissioner's Cup game. So is a lot to celebrate, right? And then you can celebrate the performance of Natasha Howard.
Lynx weren't even playing that well, but they were definitely not letting the Fever get anything off. And then the Fever went on a run.
She let the scoreboard talk, and the scoreboard was screaming. The final minutes of the game were her masterpiece. With the Lynx scrambling to make a comeback, Clark took over. A pull-up three from the logo, a laser pass in transition for a layup, a defensive rebound that turned into a coast-to-coast sequence ending in a crafty finish. All of it felt like a culmination of patience, of pressure, of potential finally being realized. By the time she checked out in the final seconds, the Fever bench was electric. Smiles, chest bumps, belief. And make no mistake, Clark saw it, felt it. Because this was the first time in weeks that Indiana looked like a team that believed in itself, a team that didn't just rely on her, but elevated around her. It was everything her critics said she couldn't create. And she did it. Now the conversation has changed. The same media voices that questioned whether Clark was WNBA ready are suddenly calling her a floor general in the making. The doubters who said her style couldn't translate are now wondering why Indiana ever deviated from putting the ball in her hands full-time. The noise didn't disappear, it just got drowned out by results. And Clark? She didn't rub it in, she didn't flex. She just smiled, took a breath, and walked into the tunnel like someone who knew this wasn't the peak. It was just the start.
They did not allow the Lynx to score for over 8 minutes. That is a long time. This is Nafisa Collier's team.
Stat line for Natasha Howard, 16 points, 12 boards. I mean, if she can produce like that, it's scary hours.
Nafisa Collier was actually held to 12 points. And listen, that sounds like an average or a decent game for any normal player.
The league's on notice now, because if the Fever can build off this performance, if they can give Clark the reins, lean into what works, and clean up the details, they're not just a bottom-tier team with hype. They're a problem, a real one, the kind of team no playoff hopeful wants to face down the stretch. Clark's epic response wasn't just in her words, it was in her play, her poise, her control. And the message was clear, doubt her if you want, but when the lights get brightest, she doesn't shrink, she shines. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Catch a dime.